Finally, some on the religious right are admitting that global warming is actually happening. But don't get ahead of yourself. I think that you may find that you dislike them admitting it's happening even more than you did them denying it's happening. We've got some video of David Barton and Kenneth Copeland, both very big names in the televangelist circles, I suppose. And they were discussing this on their broadcast. Let's watch.
Floods are under the curse. Tornadoes are under the curse. Murderers. Pedophiles. All of these things, all of that's under the curse. Abortion was a seed to it that has grown into a murderous, bloody crop of child death. And it doesn't stop with abortion. It goes on. Man, hey, all ages.
When a nation does something bad, it gets judgment or it gets blessing right now in the present. On the spot.
Sir.
Which is why policies matter. Because if you take a bad policy, you get judged for it on the spot. If you take a good policy, you get blessed for it on the spot.
David, storms and hurricanes and unimaginable murders and mass murders and all of that doesn't just happen.
It doesn't just happen. A door has been opened and we have said, you know, we embrace a wicked policy. Okay, then I'll take my hand of protection off your nation and whap, here comes storms like we've never seen before. And here comes floods and here comes the climate stuff that we can't explain, all the hot times and all the cold times and too much rain and not enough rain and we're flooding over here and we got droughts over here. And you know, back in the early America days when something like that happened, first thing they did was issue a call for a national prayer, day of repentance, humiliation, fasting, and prayer. We have screwed up somewhere. We've got to get God's help to get blessings back on this nation. And they would humble themselves before God. And today we're saying, oh no, it's global warming. That's what, no. We opened the door that lost God's protection over our environment.
Jesus Christ, both in terms of video quality and also what they were saying. So it goes pretty deep. Mummies under the curse, hobgoblins under the curse.
Oh, yeah.
How could you watch that video and not trust everything these great men are saying?
You know, when I go on TCM and I list movies on the air, I frequently, I do this, and so Bogart's, and but it's getting ruined. Because now as I look at this, I'm like, guys who count off the things they're talking about, they're frauds. It's a total fraud move. So I'm dropping it from my repertoire.
So you're retroactively a fraud.
I am retroactively a fraud. I'm dropping it.
Okay.
I think these guys are one of two things. Either they're frauds, or I think they have a mental disorder. I mean,
clearly.
If I said I speak directly to God, and everything that happens at TYT is because of this and that, and I pretend, or I actually believe that I do, you would institute me. I mean, you would put me in an institution and you would give me some therapy, some help, lithium, something, right? These people are crazy.
No, but look, guys, that's the problem. A giant chunk of the world is crazy. I wrote an editorial on this, I don't know, about 8 years ago now, I think. We're an island of sanity, actually, in a frothing ocean of insanity. There's so many people that look at that and go, oh, yeah. They don't think, we see crazy people. They see perfectly, decent, rational people, etc., right? Look, here's the thing. Once you believe in something that doesn't make sense, there's no end to it, right? So if you say, well, the guy walked on water and it was a virgin birth and then he came back to life and he'd risen people, then okay, yeah, sure, of course. Then of course God got angry and he did the drowned and the zombies and the
hobgoblins
and the hobgoblins, etc. And so of course, well, look, and here's what religion is an alternative explanation to reality, right? So it was an alternative explanation in the beginning as plan A, because we didn't have science back then to the, obviously anywhere near the degree that we do now. So they were like, I don't know, I think that the stars that I see up there are little, holes in heaven.
Yeah,
okay.
Apollo drives his chariot across the horizon and pulls the sun along with it.
Which is a better story.
Yeah.
Just from start to finish. It's
and thunder is when Thor, hammers the sky because he's angry because he didn't get a strike or whatever it was, right? When he was bowling. And so now we do have science. We have a much better answer, but people still cling on to this stuff. But I'm telling you, a lot of people look at that and go, hell yeah, absolutely.
I liked, there's so many parts of it that were so great, but I like, we always hear about the arbitrary and capricious God, but this God felt like a mid-level manager in that conversation, because he's talking to God like Ted Cruz and like Michelle Bachmann, and he says, God, and then God said, all right, well, I'm going to lift the protection of your planet. Just sort of like it's a business meeting. Like God decided that at about 1:40 because he needed to get out of that meeting because he was hungry and he needed a sandwich. Like, you'd think that these guys, in their craziness, would at least, when they quote God, would give some degree of heft to the things that God is saying.
Well, and also, I think that if we're going to take them seriously, their little theory there that, a country has a policy, and so they're judged. They're either blessed or they're cursed. So, like, pre-Articles of Confederation, was each state judged individually, but then once we passed the Articles, now all of a sudden it's one judgment? Like, what about the EU? Do they still get one blanket judgment?
Wouldn't it be great if anyone challenged them on any of that stuff? Like, a country is either blessed or cursed. Really? Where's that? Like, they just made that up. I mean, they made that up. That's not written anywhere.
Well, certainly nations do get cursed in the Bible. I suppose they have that to say. But also, in terms of like the abortions causing global warming, it's not impossible. It could happen. But you could actually test that. You could run some sort of data set that has abortions for each country per year, and then look at the average weather. Like, you could actually apply the scientific method to that. But they're not even interested in trying it because I think they understand how crazy it is. And what you're probably thinking is, well, we've heard stuff like this before. I mean, famously after 9/11, Pat Robertson, Jerry Falwell said that was caused by homosexuality, abortion, and stuff like that. And we're doing this now because we are 12, almost 13 years after that. And despite the fact that the country in many ways, in terms of gay marriage, marijuana, lots of progress on these social issues, these guys have just aged over that time. They have evolved in no further way than their cells are dying.
It's like we went into a time machine and came back and we're like, oh my God, 12 years went by. And they're like, what are you talking about? You were here 2 minutes ago.
So
exactly.
As I look at this, I think, to Ben's point, who is this guy, right? In some ways, he looks like a mob boss. He's lifted the hand of protection, right? You crossed me, I couldn't have you do that to me, all right? So I'm going to lift my hand of protection from you, and everybody in the path is going to get murdered, okay? You're going to lose your crops, you're going to lose your business, okay? And your kids, they're all, I got a lot of stuff coming. Paulie Walnuts is going to visit you tomorrow, okay? So he sounds like a mobster. But
he also sounds like a very petty and insecure mobster.
Exactly. Or he sounds like a 13-year-old, in junior high, like, oh yeah, I can't believe you did that. I told you not to do abortion. Okay, well, that's it. You're shunned. Okay, and nobody talk to Susie anymore. Okay, and that's it. You're under my curse. I've lifted my hand of protection from you. Okay, so it's a combination of like this child brat and an incredibly violent mobster.
Yeah. So the people that should be most offended are serious Christians. I mean, we laugh at these guys, but if I were a Christian, I'd be the most offended by jerk-offs like this, because they make a complete mockery of God. They make God seem like so nervous, and he's so insecure, and he's so surprised. Like, I can't believe they are doing abortions.
Shouldn't he have known?
Of course he should have known, right? And he's like, well, I'm really mad that they're doing abortions, and they're doing more abortions, so therefore I'm going to lift my hand of protection and smite indiscriminately everyone in the path with bad weather and climate change. It's pathetic. And the other thing, too, is that these guys, they can't wait for the next catastrophe. They can't wait for the next 9/11, the next massive hurricane, so they can point their finger and say, see, that's because God is angry and bad people like the gays and the abortionists caused it.